Hi, and welcome to this week's small group. As you know, we're in the middle of this series called Taking Every Opportunity. And on Sundays, we're looking at how Jesus took every opportunity to share his faith. But during our small groups, we're looking at how the disciples took every opportunity to share their faith. And so I want to just jump right into the Bible study this week. I want you to start by reading Acts chapter 3, verses 1 through 10. And have these questions in mind as you read these passages. And then once you finish reading the passages as a small group, answer these questions together. How did Peter and John take an opportunity to share their faith in these passages? Make no mistake, Peter and John weren't just healing a man, they were taking an opportunity. How are these passages speaking to you when it comes to taking opportunities today to share our faith? And finally, what are some of the ways that we might share our faith by showing compassion to other people? What I hoped you got out of these last passages is that Peter and John realized that meeting a need is an opportunity to share their faith. Now, I don't want you to feel guilty if you don't want to go up and pray over somebody that they would be healed, because most of the time God doesn't call us to heal in Jesus' name. That was something very specific. Sometimes that happens today, but for the most part, that's probably not what God is going to call us to do. But God gives us opportunities to show compassion in ways that stand apart. And here's what I want you to be thinking about. How can I show compassion, but in a way that stands apart from everybody else? I'm just going to let you know, in Miami, in about every street corner, there's somebody asking for your money. And I've gotten to the place where I don't just give out money. Everybody does that. But if I'm at a gas station or I'm at a place where I can have a conversation with somebody, and if I can put my arm around them and just pray for them, go buy some food for them rather than just give money, man, that seems to make a lot bigger impact, and that's how you can stand apart. Next, I want you to read Acts chapter 3, verses now 11 through 26. And how might Peter and John have reacted to the people if they weren't looking for opportunities to share their faith? And what are some opportunities that we might be missing because we aren't looking for them? You know, as I read that passage, I can't help but think that Peter and John, if they weren't looking for an opportunity to share their faith, when the people came over and started giving them credit for healing the man, they may have just enjoyed the credit. But instead, they pointed to Jesus Christ. Read Acts chapter 4, verses 1 through 7. Why do you think that God allowed them to be punished for sharing their faith? I mean, as I read that, I'm kind of like, God, they were just doing what you wanted them to do, and they landed themselves in jail. What are some ways in which we might be punished for sharing our faith today? And finally, why do most believers stop sharing their faith after facing opposition? What I want you to notice is that most people think that opposition means that God is against them. They think that they've done something wrong, and I didn't witness in the right way, and I got this opposition, and so they think that they did something wrong. But the simple fact is that sometimes God allows that opposition because He's giving us another opportunity. Read Acts chapter 4, verses 8 through 22. You're going to finish the story. How do Peter and John view opposition differently than most believers do today? What was the effect of Peter and John's boldness on the men of the ruling council? And finally, what stands out to you as you read this story? For Peter and John, opposition was just another opportunity to share their faith. And I think if we can learn anything from them today is to understand that, man, there's going to come times where we're going to face opposition. But that's just another opportunity. Sometimes our boldness can have an unseen effect on people's hearts. I'm sure that the men of that ruling council probably looked stoic, but inside they were freaking out, going, man, how are these guys speaking so boldly? You know, further on in Scripture, it says that many of those men in that ruling council eventually became believers in Jesus Christ. And I believe that it was because of the seed that Peter and John planted on this day. As you think of your own life, how are you good at taking opportunities to share your faith? But then on the other hand, in what areas of your life do you think you might be missing opportunities to share our faith? There's ways that we're all good at sharing our faith, and then there's ways that we're not so good. And so what I want you to do is, as you answer these questions in your small group, I want you to close in prayer and ask God to open our eyes to the opportunities that He is giving to us on a daily basis. And God bless you guys. Have a great rest of the week, and we'll see you on Sunday.